Hi, I'm Stacy Ford. Welcome to our first part of our two-part series on speech jargon here at lumenvox.com. Like any industry, the speech recognition industry has a lot of jargon words that you may or may not know before you come into the industry. So we'd like to define the most commonly used jargon words in this series. The first part, we're going to focus on general telephony speech recognition jargon words. The next series, the next video, we're going to focus on more speech recognition specific terms. So the first and most commonly used jargon is IVR, which stands for Interactive Voice Response. It's a way for a caller to interact with a computer via the telephone or VoIP. So instead of calling and talking to a person, they're going to be talking to a computer. The next most commonly used term is DTMF. You'll hear this a lot when you're converting to a speech recognition application. DTMF stands for dual tone multi-frequency. It's the tones that your telephone keypad make. It's really commonly referred to as touch tone, but DTMF is the technical telephony jargon that you'll hear a lot. So most commonly you'll hear this when you're turning an application from a DTMF application to a speech recognition application. Next, we'll come to ASR, which stands for Automatic Speech Recognition. You'll also hear this as Speech Recognition Engine or SRE. This is software that converts spoken words into text. It doesn't mean that the application will understand the meaning of these words, but it will take the phonetic word and turn it into text for your application. The next one that's very commonly confused with speech recognition is voice recognition. The difference between the two is that speech recognition is more of a generic. Everybody will be recognized the same. So if I say there and you say there and this guy over here says there, the application will recognize it all as the same word. Voice recognition is really focusing on one person's voice. So it's most commonly used for speaker verification in a biometrics security kind of application to verify that who you say you are is who you actually are. So they're very commonly used interchangeably, but their meanings are quite specific. So if there's ever a doubt as to which one is being referred to, please ask. Please ask whoever you're talking to or whatever you're reading, or just make sure that what they say or what you're reading is what they actually mean. The next one that you'll come across is TTS, or touch tone. No, text-to-speech. Sorry. Text-to-speech is the opposite of an ASR. It's changing your text to a spoken word. So it's very commonly used for using like a database, referencing a database. You use this instead of having actual person record your prompts or the information that's being relayed. So, for example, if you're doing something like the weather, you're probably not going to record every single possible weather out there. It's much easier to have this engine generate the spoken version of what it is that it's reading. The next thing that you'll come across is called VUI. It's Voice User Interface. Now, this may sound a little confusing, but it's really the way you navigate through a speech recognition system. So you can kind of think of it as normal software you would use on your computer has a GUI, or a graphical user interface, with pretty pictures and buttons that you would push to navigate your way through the software, or commands that you would use to get through the software. These are voice-driven commands to get you through your application. So voice user interface will get you through your speech application. The next commonly used term is MRCP, which stands for Media Resource Control Protocol, which is basically what the name implies. It's a way of controlling your media resources. For example, your telephone platform, your speech engine, the way that they communicate with each other during your application, very commonly is used through MRCP. It's a standard, so there's specific rules, and many applications will use these rules to communicate with each other. It's important to note that there are two versions of this standard, version 1 and version 2, and they are completely different and not compatible with each other. So if you're having a conversation with somebody about MRCP, it's important to note whether you're talking about MRCP version 1 or MRCP version 2. Last but not least, the term that we'll go over in this video is called VXML, Voice XML. XML is a standard you hear a lot in the software industry. It stands for Extended Markup Language, Extensible Markup Language, sorry. The VXML is how you write your applications. It's the language used to control your telephone platform, your speech engine. It's also a standard, so if you're VXML compliant, there's rules you follow, and it makes it much easier to navigate your way through new software as long as you're using the appropriate standard and following the rules. That's the last thing we're going to cover in this video. In the next video, we'll talk more about speech recognition specific terms. And if you have any additional questions that aren't covered in this video about any of these terms, feel free to email us at support@lumenvox.com. And we also have a lot of tips and papers written about most of these terms in our resources section, so feel free to check there too.